You are now listening to Extracting Wisdom. Here to help you prevent the decay of your future is your host, Brandon Evert.
Hello and good morning, podcast listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Extracting Wisdom. I am your host, Brandon Evert. And today I really just kind of want to reflect on my first semester of D2 year, which was our summer term here in Chicago. And I want to touch on two main things. And I apologize if you hear some little pops or things like that. I'm recording this on my phone. I just happened to get some inspiration for this episode, so I just wanted to go ahead and record it. But what I wanted to touch on was fixed pros, because that was kind of the newest thing this semester. And I kind of want to touch on mindset and mentality, as I usually do, because I kind of want to share a personal story and what happened and kind of what was the result of this situation. So I'll get into that in a minute. But as far as fixed pros, whether you're a pre-dental student or you're a D1 or D2 going through this right now, I just want to give you a couple tips, things that I've kind of discovered on my own as I kind of went through the course. So fixed pros obviously is pretty much crown and bridge dentistry. And the biggest part was learning how to prepare the tooth for the different types of crowns, whether it's a cast metal, a PFM, or something like a zirconia or an all ceramic crown. And the biggest thing I discovered is it's fixed pros is all about angles and angulation. Okay, it's all about how you angle your burr when you prep the tooth. And obviously, I can't really show you how to do this because you can't see me, but I can at least give you this little bit of advice, okay? And I think the biggest misunderstanding with students is what exactly is an undercut. A lot of my classmates, and I was kind of fuzzy on this at the very beginning, so I kind of want to just jumpstart you and kind of help you understand exactly what an undercut is, because that's the biggest no-no when it comes to fixed pros. So an undercut, I'm going to use a as much as you guys might hate it, a PAT example. I just finished doing a whole bunch of solution videos for PAT Booster, which is a new DAT company that focuses on the PAT. So if you're a pre-dental student looking to raise your score, head on over to patbooster.com and you will see me in the solution videos for all of the top front end questions. Anyway, back to undercuts. If we were to look at the tooth top down from your preparation, you would basically see a dotted line where you have kind of the top part of your preparation overhangs the bottom part. And you wouldn't necessarily be able to see where your kind of axial reduction meets your finish line. And for a good prep, you need to make sure that you can see where your axial reduction meets your finish line. That's the whole point, okay? Because you don't want any undercuts. You don't want your crown to be locked in place when you cement it, and you need to take it off. So, how do you fix this? You just always need to keep in mind your burr angulation. So, typically, when you're prepping a tooth, you want the bottom of your burr. Let's say we're prepping on the mandible here for a second. You want the bottom of your burr to be pointed away from the tooth and the top of your burr pointed more towards the tooth. So you always want that consistent angulation around the tooth that kind of slopes down and away from the center line, if you were looking at the kind of the top down view. Okay, and the biggest thing is consistency. So before you start your prep, you want to make sure you have your angulation correct. You want to lock your wrist, get a really nice finger rest, and then there you go. You're just going to make nice, smooth strokes back and forth with your burr with that angulation all the way around the tooth, and you really should have a very nice preparation. So that's the biggest thing with fixed pros. Keep in mind your angles when you're prepping. Okay, that's going to be the biggest thing. Now, on to my little story here I have to tell. And I really want to tell this story because it's really a testament to mentality and mental strength, mental toughness, and how important it is in dental school. So this summer we had our general pathology course. And the course is split up into 3 modules. Okay, so each module contains 2 quizzes and an exam. So we had a total of 6 quizzes, 3 exams. That's what our grade was determined by. Now, the first module, I did okay. I think overall it was like a 90% for all 3, both the quizzes and the exam, which is not bad. The only thing is that here at UIC, a 90% is still considered a B. You need to score above a 92% to be in the A range. So I kind of thought, okay, well, I'll do better on the next module. Module 2 rolls around, and I averaged an 84% in the second module. And so if you kind of start calculating my grade in your head, the odds of getting an A at that point don't look super great. So I kind of sat down and calculated that I basically needed 100% on both quizzes, and I needed to score like at least a 95 on the exam. And here's where mentality comes in, folks, because a lot of people may look at that and say, absolutely not, that's impossible. Never going to happen. I'm just going to accept my B. And sometimes that mentality can be super problematic, because then you're going to end up stop trying, and then you're going to do worse than if you were to actually put in the effort, right? Because you can't cross that threshold. And that is such a huge mental block and huge mental barrier that you've kind of reached your potential and you can't go any higher. And so, the thing I realized, yes, it might be hard to do, it might not happen, but I'm going to strive for it, right? Because I'm going to be better off if I strive for that 100% or study as hard as I can to strive for that 95% on that exam. I'd be better off that way rather than if I just kind of gave up and rolled over and didn't even try. So that's kind of the big thing that I really want to focus on here is that mentality. So the first thing I needed to do in order to tackle this goal, okay, and I think it's always important if you have some sort of goal in mind that you sit down and kind of think about and write down the steps that you're going to take to reach that goal. And so first thing I kind of sat down, did some self-reflecting. And what I realized is that flashcards just weren't cutting it for me for this type of class. Okay, I know I'm a huge advocate of flashcards. You can download my flashcards on my website, Bevert.dental. And you can have free access to all of the cards that I've made and that I personally use to study. But it just wasn't really cutting it for Path, and I don't know what it was about it that wasn't doing well. But what I ended up doing was changing my study methods. So instead of doing flashcards, I started handwriting all my notes, going through PowerPoints, jotting down notes, creating this nice study guide. And then something that I always did in undergrad that I really haven't done too much in dental school yet is talking out loud. For whatever reason, talking out loud and going through my notes and talking to myself, although other people might think I'm crazy, it really helps. It kind of drills things into my memory, and I won't forget things, and it kind of helps me connect different concepts together. So that's what I did. I changed my study method, and I think I was ready to go for that first quiz of module 3. So the first quiz came around, and I get a 10 out of 10, 100%. So I'm feeling very good. And that's kind of just verification that, yes, this is the correct way to study, and I need to keep it up. Second quiz rolls around, and again, 10 out of 10, 100%. So now at this point, I'm thinking I have a shot at getting an A in this class. And that again, just to stress this again, and I don't mean to kind of beat a dead horse here, but that's the mentality you have to have. No matter how impossible something seems, it's possible. You might have to make sacrifices or make changes or do things differently, but it's possible. You just have to get through that mental block of that little voice in your head that says, you've reached your potential, you can't go any further, why even bother? That kind of thing, right? And so the exam rolls around. I took the exam this past Monday. It's Wednesday now. And because of how hard I studied, because of all the time I put in, because of all of the just hard work and attention to detail and attention to how I was studying for this exam, I was able to get a 98% on the last exam. And the final grades aren't out yet, but from what I've calculated, that will just put me at an A. So I reached my goal. And that's a good feeling, looking back at it and looking at kind of the mountain I had to climb going into this third module. It was it didn't look good is what I'm trying to say. It didn't look good. And I knew it'd be really hard, but if you set goals for yourself and then kind of self-reflect, make changes, and kind of write out those concrete steps of what you're going to do to get to that goal, you're going to be so much better off. Okay. And I really think this kind of mentality of, being able to dig yourself out of a hole that you dug yourself into in the first place, right? Having that mentality of grinding, clawing, scratching to get back on top. And that's, this is just a great life skill in general, quite honestly. But this mentality is going to help you so much in dental school. Because if you're somebody who wants to specialize or trying to get into maybe an advanced class or something that's based on grades, this is the mentality you need to have. And you might not be one of those people. And you know what? That's totally okay. In dental school, and if you don't plan on specializing, there's no real benefit to getting A's all the time. There's really not. In dental school, C's get degrees, right? But it kind of depends on what kind of person you are. If you're a person that just, that's not okay and you need to get A's, go for it and figure out how you can best study your material as efficiently as possible. You might need to make some changes along the way like I did. But yeah, that's just kind of the point I'm making, is that this mentality is super important if you're going to be a gunner or if you're somebody who's just trying to get the best grades possible, et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty much how D2 first semester went. It was tough, don't get me wrong. Pathology is a lot of memorization and a lot of, attention to detail. And fixed process the same way, keeping, an eye on your angulation of the burr at all times. But once you get these things down, it really does kind of all click together, especially for fixed pros. So it feels good. I'm going to have about a week and a half to 2 weeks off, which is going to feel like a lifetime when, you go to dental school year round. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to hitting the golf course a couple times and sleeping in for once. I kind of forgot what that feels like. So anyway, that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to share that personal story with you. This is not to brag, by the way. This is really not to brag. This is just to show that the hard work that you put in and your mental toughness really does go a long way. It really does. And you can achieve great results no matter what situation you are in, just based on your mentality and based on your drive to get things done. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that message is kind of clear throughout this little story. So anyway, I think that's going to be it for this episode. I really appreciate you guys taking a listen and tuning into this podcast and this episode. If you don't mind, if you enjoy this podcast, whether you are a pre-dental student, a dental student, a practicing dentist already, or somebody that just likes dentistry in general, go ahead. If you're listening on iTunes, please go ahead and give me 5 stars. That would be greatly appreciated, and kind of lets me know that the content that I'm putting out is helpful for you guys. So thank you guys so much. I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.